Could Instacart have found another way to stiff drivers of tips that they deserve? Let's talk about it on this segment of the Gig Geezer. I just want to take everyone down a quick trip down memory lane. The year's 2019. Both Instacart and DoorDash admitted to have stiffed drivers of tips in that would they subsidize the base pay that was to be paid to drivers with customer tips. In fact, about that same time, Amazon Flex was caught by the Federal Trade Commission for having stiffed drivers of actual tips through their Whole Foods program and other programs in which the base pay was supplemented by customer tips. And so it's not a new thing, but Instacart said at the time that it would be more transparent with driver pay, and that Instacart said at the time that drivers would be guaranteed a minimum of $10 on their orders. Well, as we know, it's now 2022, and the base pay for most orders that drivers see on Instacart is $7. In fact, in a recent Gig Geezer segment, I showed where Instacart had a triple stacked order for $7.30, and there was no tip on that order. So, anyway, within the past year, Instacart did attempt to do something that was in the best interest of drivers, in that it said that it would reimburse drivers up to $10 in the event when customers have tip baited drivers. That was a common thing that was done at the beginning of the pandemic shutdowns in 2020, in which many drivers would see orders with very nice tips, only to find out that the tip had been taken back no sooner than the order was marked as delivered. Keep in mind, it is my suspicion that Instacart is still being inventive in ways to keeping money from drivers. Now, working an order that was offered $37.48 this past weekend, I was near the end of having found all the items for this customer's order. And then I got a message from the customer, and she asked, when the $5 charge is added on for long distance by Instacart, does the personal shopper receive that amount? I responded to the customer that in the more than 1,400 completed orders that I have done on the Instacart app, and that's dating back almost 3 years on the app, I've never seen such a thing. That's right. I've never seen where Instacart actually, in certain orders of certain distance amounts, apply a $5 payment amount to the driver, not on the order. By the way, her response was to my answer was, somehow I did not expect you to say yes. That is why I gave what I considered a large tip. Now, the customer tipped on that order $20. It was a flat tip. And so that means the base amount was $17.48. That base amount was broken down as follows. The order showed a distance, at least what Instacart calculated, to be 24.3 miles. I can assure you that I did not drive 24.3 miles for that order. I can assure you that. In fact, it was more like probably about almost a little more than half, more like about 15 miles that I drove for that order. Now, because Instacart had already calculated that trip to be 24.3 miles, it said that I would be paid $14.58. 24.3 miles times 24.3 miles times 60 cents. That's how you get the 14.58 total. But that does not explain the additional $2.90. We can presume then that Instacart contributed $2.90 towards that base. That's all we can presume. But to answer the customer's question in hindsight, there's nothing to suggest on the app that I was ever paid that $5 that the customer was assessed or charged for distance for that order. We can presume that, at least based on that order. But just for consistency's sake, I looked into another order that I completed later that day. This order only paid $14.82. The base amount was $9. In fact, $2 of it was a priority boost in which the order had been sitting around. And so it had very few items. And so I jumped on it. And the tip on that order was $5.82. The mileage component The mileage component on that order was 4.3 miles. And so it paid $2.50 based on that math, $2.58 for mileage. And then the remaining $4.42 was monies that Instacart contributed apparently towards the $7 base minimum. I want to give you another order just for what I think will give just as good illustration, at least how I suspect that Instacart has been inventive in finding ways of keeping monies that should go to the drivers. This order here, it says $36.47, if memory serves me correct. And the mileage on this order was 47 and a half miles. I promise you, I did not complete this order. I promise you. When I realized where it was going, it was, oh, hell no. But this order was a stacked opportunity. There was 9 total items. The furthest point was the 47 miles away in a town called St. Matthews. Now, there are people in South Carolina who would probably agree with me that St. Matthews is not a place that they would have at the top of their list for their next vacation. St. Matthews, at least the last time I went through there, probably had 3 stoplights. So you get the type of town that we're talking about. But altogether, the tip for that stacked order was magnanimous, generous, $6.65. But somebody took that order. Somebody ultimately took that order. Well, if you look on the next screen with that order, the base amount was $29.82. But of that, $28.32 was for mileage. It was the 47 and a half miles times 60 cents. Instacart contributed very, very little on that particular order as well. In my experience with Instacart, the only time I have ever seen any type of bump for distance was when I accepted and completed an order that offered $46.03. Well, it offered $46 plus. And the two drop-off locations were just, I mean, it was a very frustrating batch to complete. The furthest point was in Winsboro, way off into Fairfield County. And I complained to Instacart about this one. Like, there's no way that y'all should be putting orders like this, allowing orders like this to appear on the app. Just like the one for $36.47, that one should not have appeared on the app. Asking people to drive damn near 50 miles for that. Well, this one was almost as bad. Okay, it was a 31-mile trip, but if you would have driven a trip, it would have seemed longer. Instacart may have felt sorry for me and offered a $5 proximity bump. That's the closest I've seen anything that has paid me for a long distance to deliver or complete and deliver an order. So I doubt very seriously if the customer was assessed that $5 on their fees. Now, speaking of customers and their fees, Instacart, at least according to the app, or at least according to its website, customers are charged a minimum of $3.99 to $7.99 for the orders. Then customers are supposed to pay the sales tax on the order. There is a $2 priority bump. There is a $2 priority charge that customers may be charged when things are busy and there's a big demand for hopefully drivers to complete orders when there's a lot of orders out there. there's a $10 charge that customers are assessed for heavy orders, in which they start when you see those customers that order 5 and 6 cases of water. Well, if those qualifying items according to Instacart weigh more than 50 pounds, then they're going to be assessed a $10 charge. Then the customer is also assessed a $5 service charge, which is based on the amount total of the order. So which of those monies Instacart get, which of those monies the drivers get? The base amount, the base charge, that's Instacart's money. The service charge, or the service fee, that is money that Instacart keeps, which is based on the amount of the orders, typically 5% of that order. Tips, customers may have the option of not tipping, but they may, or at least encouraged to tip anywhere between 5 and 20% of the total amount of the order. And obviously, as I shared in another example, customers may tip a flat amount. But if you notice with the focus of this segment of the Gig Geezer, what about that distance charge, that proximity charge that customers may be charged? Now, on the Instacart app, on the Instacart website, it says that customers may be charged $5 for orders in which the store is located at least 30 minutes away from customers' drop-off location. But it does not indicate that the driver gets that money. So you would think that the driver should get that $5 if they're having to drive over 30 minutes to that customer's address. The last time drivers got anything, at least openly, for some type of reimbursement was earlier this year, when gas had gone through the roof, and customers was assessed 40 cents for each order that a driver completes. 40 cents. And it was clear as day that drivers got 40 cents. In fact, the example is on this order that was offered, that $40+ order that I completed earlier this year. Now, one thing that I noticed in kind of researching for this particular segment of the Gig Geezer, I noticed that Instacart really contributes very little as possible. And I've said this before in previous segments of the Gig Geezer, that these companies try to contribute very little as possible, because if they have to contribute more, they're losing money. But when it comes to Instacart, the best thing that I can kind of ascertain is that the larger the order, the less that Instacart contributes. The smaller the order, you may see more in which Instacart contributes, but that's only to get the order to $7. Or if in the case that the order's been sitting, it may bump that $2 it may bump the order $2 for boost, because it's been sitting so long, because nobody wanted to do it, because it probably had 0 tip on it. So it appears to me that if we presume that customers are being charged that $5 for distance, we may be able to deduce that Instacart has yet found another inventive way to hold back some money for itself, or at least we can presume that Instacart has found another way to keep money from drivers that they should actually get. I welcome your comments. I welcome your insight. I welcome you sharing your experience with these orders. And if you like the content that's been provided in this segment of the Gig Geezer, or in any other segment of Gig Geezer, hit that subscribe button. Give my content a thumbs up. Share my content among others, and I definitely welcome your comments in the section below. I'm Inwood Lane, and as always, may your hustle and may your grind continue.